Hello and welcome back to another production in which we are going to detail why Mitt Romney is the ultimate rhino, the biggest scumbag in politics right now, and just an overall douche. Now, when we look at several articles today, we're going to see how much of an orange feckless Mormon this guy is. Now, when we look at Mitt Romney, presented with the option of winning this election, he clearly couldn't pull it off in 2012. And when you look at him, you see that he's marching with the Black Lives Matter movement outside of Washington, D.C. And while this may seem like bad news but old news, you can clearly see that there's multiple articles, even by the leftist establishment, showing him going against Trump and his agenda. Now, the most latest thing is that he personally went and sabotaged the subpoena of a lot of CIA establishment Brennan types just to screw with Donald Trump. Of course, that is a death sentence in the Republican Party. And the fact that he has not just left the party is kind of astounding. And that probably means that he's going to run in 2024. But look at this. He wanted John Bolton to testify against Donald. And why? Because he wanted to screw Donald over. He voted to charge Donald Trump on one of the charges, and he was not pro-Trump in 2018. He didn't even kiss his butt like he did before. And when we look at his scorecard, you can tell that he is a rhino. And we just look at him signing Romney Care, right? And you can look at him being a Democrat puppet with Ted Kennedy, one of the most liberal senators in the world, really. And he clearly is not very strong. Then when you look at John McCain with Mitt Romney, you can clearly see he is not our guy. And to anybody that pretends that just because, oh, well, he's anti-gay marriage, he's anti-abortion, yeah, I don't care. I don't care. In fact, he was the weakest candidate up until 2016 on gay marriage. In fact, he wasn't very pro-life. He wouldn't got nothing done, really, which is really crappy. Just really bad. And overall, all he has as a record is supporting gay rights in his Senate race in 1994 and to not go against abortion and just to be freaking gay. And then when you look over here, you can see that the way that he nominated people to the court, it didn't really flip it very conservative at all. And he just didn't get too much done. And yes, Romney Care is Obamacare, but done at the state level. And this guy had the balls to criticize Obama over Obamacare when he made the formulation for it. He literally made Obamacare with the mandate and everything, just to help his people, then criticizes Obama for doing it at the federal level. Isn't that so stupid? And in fact, it provides taxpayer-funded abortions for a copay of $50. So he funded abortion in his healthcare plan, but he says he's a real conservative. And he criticizes Donald Trump for not being a real conservative. Like, who are you, dude? He even said, basically, it revealed that 55,000 illegal aliens received $100 million worth of free healthcare paid by the courtesy of the Massachusetts taxpayer. And this guy goes against Donald. Really? Are you kidding me? And Mitt Romney in 2011 said that Romney Care is one of my best assets. You know why? Because he actually believes in Obamacare. He was just against it to be a Republican. That's all he did. In fact, he could have ran as a Democrat and he wouldn't be too different. And while he says even though he says that he's a fiscal conservative, he clearly let abortions be funded at taxpayer expense. As well as he never said that he would raise taxes in Massachusetts, but he just put tolls in the road. So he's just taxing you a different way and says he's not taxing you. So he's a liar as well. He also increased taxes by fees, basically by $750 million a year. And he just nickel and dimed the whole thing so that he would say he didn't raise taxes, when in fact, in his governorship, the local tax burden went from 10% to 10.6% per capita. So he was lying, okay? So your taxes, if you lived in Massachusetts, went up an average of $117, as well as you trying to pay for taxpayer-funded abortion. So that's hardly indicative of a fiscal conservative there. And you can look at how spending skyrocketed. In 2006, for example, it went up 7.6%, and in 2007, it went up 10%. Spending went up 20% in his governorship, not down. And this guy's a fiscal conservative. That's even worse than Obama's government seizure, actually. And yet this guy says he's a fiscal conservative, right? How much of a hypocrite do you have to be? And most of the spending's coming from Romney Care, which is literally just Obamacare. And when you look at his fourth year in office, Massachusetts job growth was at 0.9%, and the amount for the nation was over 5%. So clearly, his economy was so crappy that he was lagging down the overall national economy, and this was at the peak of the economy in 2006, not even the recession era. So that's just a fact, and that's just clear as day. When you look at the way that Mitt Romney ran his state, you could look and just see right here. His state was 47th among 50 in job growth during a peak economic boom. And he was hardly ahead of anybody in terms of economy. And he only had a C letter grade in 2006. So his Romney Care didn't help the state because it didn't even help growth or employment at all. Okay, now on to this next point about the budget. Now, this guy at the very least should say, "Oh, I'm a fiscal conservative now." Clearly, he's going to expand spending if he were president by 8%, which is pretty good compared to the Democrats, but not very libertarian either. So he's painting himself as a moderate. But when you're dealing with the charismatic, faux moderate Democrats such as Obama, why would you run as a moderate, right? I don't know. Point is, this guy's very indecisive. Oh, I like Obamacare, now I don't. Oh, I love government mandates, well, now I don't, right? Now, he did support the stimulus, the TARP, with love, even though he went against it after. He was like, "Oh, we shouldn't bail out the car companies." But where was he? Was he in Massachusetts or was he in Michigan? So I bet you if he were in Michigan, just like his father was governor, he would be begging for that federal bailout. So he's not very strong. And then when you look at rhinos such as Mitt Amnesty over here, he says that he gets nailed down here in 2008, and he says, "My own view is consistent with what you see in Lowell Sun, that those people who come here illegally are in this country, the 12 million or so, or that are here illegally should be able to stay and sign up for permanent residency or citizenship." So he literally said the 12 million that are here illegally should be able to get citizenship. What the hell is wrong with this guy? He literally said, "I just want to give amnesty to everybody" in 2008. That's not a good position at all. That is god-awful. He even supported the federal assault weapons ban, called the Brady Bill. And then he lied about not doing it at all. So clearly, he says he's a conservative in the primary, then he says he's a moderate in the general, so what's going on? And then, in terms of affirmative action, he never fixed it. And in terms of minimum wage, instead of saying let's keep it the same or abolish it, he wants to index the minimum wage to inflation and have it go up slowly, which is gay. And then he supported No Child Left Behind, which is George Bush's failed attempt at federal policing of schools, basically setting their own requisites instead of leaving it to the states or the localities how it should be. And then, of course, I already mentioned the Ted Kennedy thing. And he even wanted to, he ran as a Mormon, but he never really mentioned he was a Mormon, so opportunistic about his religion. When I think he was a Mormon bishop in his younger days. And he, primarily coming up in politics because of his Mormon roots, and the particulars in terms of Utah, Brigham Young, etc. You look at all those people associated with the Romney family. His father was a governor. He grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. And yet he claims that, I don't know. He's such an enigma. What is he? A moderate conservative? Is he a liberal conservative? What are you? Clearly, this guy is not it. And in closing, he's just a used car salesman. And when you look at how he opposed Donald in 2016, it is just inappropriate. And he acts like he wasn't for deporting people and building a fence. He was for building a fence in 2012. He wanted to self-deport people. He wanted to deport all 12 million. But then he said, "Oh well, we'll have them leave on their own. We'll make their life so hard. We're gonna make them leave on their own." Isn't that kind of ridiculous how he criticized Trump, even though that's harsher language than Trump used at times? And then he had his binders full of women moment. So basically, he's no angel himself, and yet he still hated on Donald. And when you look at what he said against Trump, he said that his promises were worthless and that he called him a fraud, when in fact he was the fraud. He's the guy that went from a liberal, pro-gay rights Republican in 1994 to a conservative pro-heterosexual marriage guy in 2012. So what the hell are you, dude? And he criticized Trump for calling George W. Bush a liar because neocons cannot take criticism about each other, or at least rhinos can't. And then he said he encouraged the Republicans to engage in tactical voting between the votes of Ted Cruz, Rubio, and Kasich so that they could defeat Trump at any state. So instead of voting for what you want as a president, he said vote for whoever can beat Trump in a given state. How stupid is that? And he just called him all sorts of names. And Donald Trump was right when he called Romney a choke artist. He said in Maine that in reference to the 2012 election, I backed Mitt Romney. He was begging for my endorsement. I could have said, Mitt, drop to your knees, and he would have dropped to his knees. So, of course, Mitt Romney is so pissed at Donald Trump. But officially, what does he do? And in what other ranks is he in terms of who hates on Donald Trump? You have John McCain, notorious rhino, a guy I hate with a passion, who, though serving in the Senate from the dry heat of Arizona, is feeling a different type of heat in hell, is clearly living his own life according to McCain. Why would Romney do this? It didn't work out for McCain. So presidential hopefuls on the Republican sides that lose tend to be losers, and never-Trumpers never win. In fact, this is why I hate a lot of these globalists. It's because they cannot stand to have a guy who is traditionally oriented towards saving America and making it great again. This is why I cannot, in my good conscience, say that Mitt Romney is a true conservative, because he just isn't. And his voting record shows that he only votes 70 to 80% with Trump, when even McSally, who they call McAmnesty, votes 94% with Trump. Now, what does that tell you about Mitt Romney? 1 minute he's saying, oh, in 2008, I will give citizenship to all the illegals. And then in 2012, I will deport all the illegals. What are you? I'm anti-Obamacare, but I did Romney care. What's going on? And guys, there's plenty of neocons I can cover, never Trumpers, and I'm going after all of them, guys. So just wait. Just wait until I get to the list of Republicans who oppose Donald Trump. And I'm going to expose them all, because I hate these people. And Donald Trump is the future of the Republican Party, and I completely endorse the guy, which is why I'm going to say that Mitt Romney is a feckless faggot. Thank you for watching.